We've just done the interview with Dr. Bruce Pay with John Stapleton, and talking about whether there's a great book here with all these doctors who basically have been persecuted for challenging the COVID narrative. Well, this is one I did a few years ago with Dr. Miley Trinh, where we just tell her story. She's still waiting on a verdict, but here is, and the story's told in two parts, interwound together, from when she was a little girl to when she became a doctor, which was an impossible journey, which she succeeded in, and when she became a doctor to when she became almost an enemy of the state, so it's, and basically she left communism, and now communism's caught up with her. So enjoy this if you're cold and wet, or you just don't want to go out. This Dr. Miley Trinh, in fact, send it to what's his name, Karl Stefanovic. He needs to interview her, and Dr. Bruce Pay. They need to reach a far larger voice, a far larger audience than my voice can. Here we go. This is the persecution of Dr. Miley Trinh, who an absolutely great Australian.
Dad was shaking his head down the phone. Like everyone now, he keeps repeating, who knows? I told him, make sure you keep our mom inside, for if it gets into her, she'll be gone. Then later that day Alf called, but in his smiling arms there was a frown. He said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. We woke up again, but we had nothing to do, so we had some warm fun, not once but twice. But instead of recording a record third time, you lay against me reading your phone. You were scrolling through more impossible news, until despite the morning that was still kissing you, you said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that this may be the end of our times. Hey God, are you still there? Can't you see in the houses we built that we're all now getting back down on our knees? Oh Lord, is there any way you could let this one pass? But God's reply was a chopper patrolling, like a robot banging out a didactic tune. And it was clear.
Let's go. I don't know what happened then to that song, and there's going to be a Q&A after this. Now, can people hear me? Just check. Hello. Let's try that again. So, g'day everybody. G'day guys. So, this is something new for a Sunday night. So I've come to Sydney, and I've interviewed Miley. It took just sort of did it over 2 days really, and then we put it together. And this is to try get a complete sort of more professional account of her story. How you going? You see there? I'll bring it back to the. You're in Twitter? You can't get in? Oh, isn't that Twitter?
No, I did. No, it's not working.
Oh. Oh, there's anyway, so Miley will probably restream this to her Twitter tomorrow. But anyway, we're gonna go live now. And I might just wait for a few more people to come on. So yep, okay, we're over 100. Now I have to say this is more than just a doctor being deregistered. If you hear the story of Miley, she is a testament to how wonderful our country was. She reached our shores, a refugee from not one but two countries, without her parents. And basically, even though we left her here, if she wanted to have the courage to unfurl her wings and fly, to chase impossible dreams, our country offered her that opportunity.
Playing with my gets the can and win. So that I was about 4.5, almost 5.
Is this a happy memory?
Yes, it was a happy memory, yeah.
And then what happened?
At the time, around that time, Cambodia was undergoing some political turmoil, and my mom recognized that there was going to be some civil unrest or civil war might break out. So she decided to send her children, as many of us as possible, to Vietnam, because she's got a sister living in Vietnam, and South Vietnam was free then. It wasn't under communism at the time. So 6 of my siblings, so there's 8 of us, and 6 of the children were sent to Vietnam to live with my aunt.
How'd you get there?
And I was one of them. We went by boat, a very small boat.
Do you have any memories of that?
Faintly, yes. We were on this very small boat, a motorized boat, and we just travel along the river to the southern part of Vietnam. Yeah.
And so you're in Vietnam without your mother. What was that like?
So I live with my aunt in this big house. So she's got quite a big home. So we all lived there, and I was educated there. I went to a Chinese school from year 1 to year 6. It was okay. Like they provide me shelter and they provide me food, but my memory is that most of the time I was growing up on my own.
What about your mother? Was there any contact with your mother?
No. So my mom, when she left me, gave me a kiss and promised me that she'll come back. So, but 2 years after she left, I received news that she'd been killed, and by the Khmer Rouge. Yeah.
If I could be anything for you, I would be your cure. I'd pour light into your wounds to soak their poison into the potions of love. And as their darkness drained, I would tear apart your cage, molding the bars that held you into your destined wings. your flight, you return.
You get called by a doctor in Adelaide asking if you'll kindly treat a woman who's suffering from COVID.
Correct.
What happened from there?
So I said I agreed to help this patient. I was told that she wasn't very sick at all, and she was only in her third day of COVID infection. So the very next day, I called up the number that was given to me, and the story is that it's actually very different from what I was told by the patient by the doctor from Adelaide. So this patient had been sick a lot longer. So she had been to the hospital a week ago. She was admitted to the hospital for a urinary tract infection, and she was treated for that infection with antibiotics. But 2 days later, during a routine test with the PCR test, the patient was found to have COVID infection. So she was put in isolated ward, and she was forced to wear a mask. But no medication, no treatment was offered to her. So after a day or so of being in hospital, the patient decided to discharge herself against medical advice and to be home with her family, because she's a woman of Middle Eastern origin, and her children couldn't come to visit her while she's in hospital. So she was scared to be alone, and she wasn't receiving any treatment. So she decided to go home, and after several days in being at home and not receiving any medication, not taking any medication, she's continued to deteriorate. So by the time I saw her, her oxygen level has started to drop. So it was in the mid to low 80s. And it continued to fall further in the day. So I proceeded to explain to the family that she's a lot sicker than what I was told by the doctor from Adelaide, and that I wasn't going to be able to treat her, and she needed oxygen support, etc. So she has to go to the hospital to be admitted to a hospital and get treatment. So the family refused to take the patient to the hospital, and the patient herself also didn't want to go. So I said to them that if they could borrow or access to a home oxygen concentrator, that there's a possibility that I could consider. So anyhow, by late evening, they were able to access the oxygen machine, and her oxygen improved. But early in the day, I did prescribe her some medication because with COVID, the earlier you start the treatment, the better.
So what was the medication you...
Yes, so the patient and her family had been told that they needed ivermectin. So they were given some ivermectin by their friends. So someone dropped off supplies of ivermectin for her, but she didn't know how to take it. So she wanted to get advice from me how to take and what dosage to take, etc. So I gave her a prescription for ivermectin. I gave her a prescription because the supply of ivermectin that she had was from India. So it's better to get one that supplies and from a reputable source. So she had some ivermectin, and I used a protocol in combination with doxycycline and zinc, and I put her on vitamin D, vitamin C, and a small amount of steroid because she's what we considered. So I worked out that she's in day 9 of COVID infection. So when you go into the second week of COVID and you're not recovering, that's really bad news because it means that your situation's a lot worse. The infection's gone to your lungs, it's more systemic, and the risk of it getting worse, the risk of her getting worse is high, but also the risk of death is high when you go into the second phase and you're struggling to breathe and you're having respiratory failure. So there's a lot of signs there that she's going to get a lot sicker. And throughout the day, I told the family that I can't treat her and that she should go to the hospital, but she refused.
And the steroids, you were saying they were to sort of extinguish her lungs because her lungs were so inflamed?
Yes, so a steroid is a potent anti-inflammatory agent. So it suppresses the inflammation. So in patient with COVID, they get inflammation in their lungs. And when the lungs get inflamed, then you can't get oxygen exchange in the lungs, so they can't oxygenate their blood. So that's why the oxygen in her, the saturation, when you measure the saturation concentration, it actually deteriorated. It started to drop. So the idea of the steroid is to reduce the inflammation in the lungs. So I started off with a very small dose, and I treated her. She got the oxygen machine, so that helped with the oxygen and some treatment. She started to improve. Her oxygen improved to 91% that evening. And so I was happy to just sit and watch and see how she performs. And obviously, at any stage at all, was she to get worse, she could just call an ambulance and go to the hospital.
And so did she get better?
She was holding on reasonably well for the first 24 hours, but then in the second 24 hours, so she started to show signs of needing more support. So I had to increase the oxygen. They turn up the oxygen concentration and increase the medication to improve her oxygen saturation. So I realized at that point that she's in what we call cytokine storm, which means that her lungs are very inflamed, and unless I institute some treatment for that, she's not going to be able to make it. So I told the family that I could put on steroid to reduce inflammation. And so this treatment is a treatment that they use in ICU, but obviously she's not in the hospital. So I used the adapted to the tablet form. So we're able to access medication from the chemist, and the family was able to supply her with the medication. So the medication is something that's been around for a long time. It's a treatment called pulse steroid. So you give a big pulse of steroid, high dosage of steroid for a short period of time. So usually it goes on for 3 days, and then you tape it down. And so what you do is you basically, like you said, extinguish the fire, so to speak, and so reduce the inflammation in the lungs, and then you gradually wean down the steroid, and the inflammation subside, and the patient gets better. So it is a recognized, a well-recognized treatment, and COVID is. I mean, when we had SARS-CoV-1 in 2003, this was a recognized treatment for patient who had cytokine storm, and it was one of the treatment that was known to save lives. Later on in the second, early in SARS-CoV-1, a lot of people died, but once they start to find out that this was one of the ways of treating SARS, a lot of people, many lives were saved. So this was a recognized treatment in the SARS-CoV-1. So I was aware of this fact before, and I had I followed Dr. Pierre Corey in the US, who's an intensivist who treated a lot of patients in ICU with similar protocol, and he explained the use of this protocol on COVID-19 patient. And I understand the mechanism, the pathophysiology of the condition. So, just like a car mechanic, if you know what the problem is, you can fix it. So in the same way, as a doctor, if you know what the underlying pathophysiology, what the pathology is, you can use whatever you have to treat the patient. So to me, this patient is dying. She refused to go to the hospital, and I had to treat her to save her life. So if I don't treat her, she could die. And also with this condition, if you delay the treatment, the patient has much higher risk of.
So did she die or did she survive?
She survived.
And what happened then? How did you suddenly have the authorities turn up?
So after about 2 and a bit weeks of treatment, I kept an eye on her. She started to develop some unusual symptoms, suggesting that she could be having psychosis as a side effect of the steroid. So at that time, she's already COVID negative, as PCR negative, and she was allowed to leave her home. So I said to the family for her to see her local GP, get it checked out, and she could possibly, I told the family that she could possibly have the side effects of the steroid and better get it checked out and treated.
And what are the side effects?
The common side effects is psychosis.
Could you explain what that is to lay people?
You basically you get mad, get a bit crazy, kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was saying unusual things, and she was acting unusual. So she's got some delusion. Usually the side effects of steroids were recognized, and it's usually transient, so it's short-term, short-lived, and it gets better.
So she goes to GP, and does he send her to hospital, or what happens then?
I wasn't aware of what exactly happened in between, but the first time that I knew I found out she was in hospital was about a month later, when I first received an email from the Healthcare Complaints Commission saying that I'm being reported about this patient because she was in the hospital. She was admitted to hospital with psychosis. So that was when I realized that she had been to hospital.
In Vietnam, your mother has passed away. Were you in Vietnam when you got the news?
Yes, correct.
How did you get from Vietnam to Australia, and how old were you?
So the first 3 years in Vietnam, we were living under, the southern Vietnam wasn't under communism, so it was free, so to speak, and I went to school, just normal childhood stuff, and from about from 1975 onwards, Vietnam became a communist country. So the northern Vietnam the northern Vietnamese took over the southern Vietnam. And so the whole country became a communist country. And the Vietnamese won the war, and the American left the country. So Vietnam was under communism then, and life was different.
In what way?
It was, we weren't allowed to speak freely. The government was watching. People were dobbing each other. You can't say anything against the government because your neighbour could dob you in. So people kept to themselves, and inflation was really bad. And there was a change of currency as well. So I remember being given a bag of money. I was only 9 at the time, and my aunt gave me a bag of money to go to the bank to swap for the new money. So I remember as a child bringing this whole stack of money and then came back with just a few notes. And I thought, wow, that's just really bizarre, because I was only a kid then. Yes, so we were living in fear, and also fearful of lack of food. So what my auntie did was she was raising pigs inside the house.
Inside the house?
Yes. So
what, like secretly?
No, well, not secretly, but she sectioned off the kitchen and raised about 5-6 pigs, and then put put a platform so that you can get into the kitchen, but you gotta sit on this platform, but the pigs were underneath. And that was just in case we don't have food to eat.
So you get the complaint, and now in your career, how many complaints had you had as a doctor?
None. So I practiced as a GP for 20 over years, so almost 30 years as a doctor, and I've never had a complaint made against me, and I've never been sued as well.
So when this complaint came in, were you concerned?
Yes, completely. I was concerned not so much about my situation, but I wasn't. I was concerned about my patient. I didn't know what actually happened, because the report on the report that was given by the Healthcare Complaints Commission was brief, and it didn't quite explain everything that I needed to know. So I proceeded to call the person that made the report against me. So there was a name of the doctor and a mobile number. So I called her up and asked her what happened to the patient and why was a complaint lodged against me.
And what was the answer?
So the intern told me that she doesn't know, she didn't know why she was making a complaint against me. She was just following orders from her superior. And when I asked who her superior was, she told me that it was the associate professor, Naran Gunja, the director of the toxicology department at Westmead Hospital.
A disturbing number of Australians are falling for a sham COVID cure being peddled by conspiracy theorists online. One of Australia's top doctors has sounded the alarm about patients self-medicating with ivermectin, usually used in livestock. Have a listen.
The reality is there are many trials that have been done in ivermectin. Not a single one of them have shown them to be effective. Absolutely and categorically, please do not take unproven medicines at this time.
Associate Professor Naran Gunja is a toxicologist at Westmead Hospital at the centre of Sydney's outbreak. Doctor, for those of us who don't know, can you explain to us what ivermectin is? What is it usually used to treat?
Right, so ivermectin is an antibiotic-like drug, but it's used in the treatment of worm infestations or parasitic infections, both in humans and animals, but commonly used in horses and sheep and swine for various worm infections in these animals.
So what are you seeing in your ward, patients who've taken the drug?
Well, we've had a few patients who have come in with the toxic side effects of ivermectin overdose. They've bought these products online. You can't get them as a script usually because you don't have a worm problem. These are COVID positive patients that are looking up COVID cures on the internet and then procuring them online, perhaps from overseas, and then swallowing a range of products, which could be pills, pastes, sometimes even injectables for animals that they're swallowing.
Are these people who have been vaccinated?
In general, no, they haven't been vaccinated, but they have been looking up COVID cures on the internet.
So in those that say they don't want to be vaccinated, did you ask them why they'd be reluctant to have a vaccine that's been proven to be relatively safe by and large, but they are willing to take something that's normally used for horses?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. There's no doubt about that. But we certainly encourage them to do the right thing and go and get vaccinated, protect themselves and their families from severe COVID and death, as opposed to buying and swallowing unproven medications on the internet intended for animals, which can just make them sick and certainly won't make their COVID any better.
Your hospital is under immense pressure right now. What extra stress does it add to you and your team when people present having tried unproven treatments like this?
We would certainly prefer that people didn't come in with taking medications intended for animals that they shouldn't be. Much better that they use their time wisely to go and get vaccinated, and that protects all of us and reduces the burden on the health system.
Okay, good advice. Thanks so much for joining us.
The millions of people who could have been saved. I mean, the trajectory of the pandemic would have been far, far different.
Dr. Pierre Corey is the president of Frontline COVID-19 Critical Care Alliance, or FLCCC. He's also a co-author of a large controlled study of ivermectin that had 113,000 participants. It took place in June 2020 in Brazil in a city called Itajai, where participants took ivermectin for a 5-month period, 4 days per month.
Infections were reduced by half. Hospitalizations and mortality about 68 to 70%. So there's massive reductions in infections, hospitalizations, and death.
Now, the latest findings come from the secondary analysis. They were able to use pharmacy data to separate the study participants into groups of those who took ivermectin regularly, those who took it irregularly, missing doses, and those who didn't take it at all.
And when they did those comparisons, it got even stronger, which shows you that, we've known for a long time that there's a dose response. And so there was a 90% reduction in mortality and 100% reduction in death if you took it regularly and didn't miss any doses.
He said the findings are not a surprise to those who study ivermectin, as this study just adds to about 12 other observational and randomized control trials on prevention.
To see a life-saving drug be maligned and getting most of the world to believe that it's not effective, it's truly a humanitarian tragedy.
Okay, so this one is about the second complaint. So you had the first complaint, but on the same day, you had a second complaint. What was the second complaint about?
So I received a second complaint, and the complainant was a person by the name of John Smith. Now, I haven't treated anyone by the name of John Smith, and I don't know whether, I didn't know at the time whether John Smith is a pseudonym or he's a real person. But John Smith alleges that I prescribed his friend ivermectin, and he's got an ivermectin script to prove that his friend received the ivermectin from me. And he alleges that I'm an anti-vaxxer and that he called the surgery where I work to ask whether I'm an anti-vaxxer, and they confirmed that to him that I'm an anti-vaxxer, and also that John Smith knew exactly how many ivermectin scripts I have prescribed, and he even knew exactly who they are. But he said he didn't want to reveal it to to the health regulator because of the confidentiality reason.
First off, at that time, wasn't ivermectin legal?
Yes, it was legal when I prescribed it, and I've never prescribed ivermectin after it was banned.
And so we've got this John Smith. I'll just keep it running. I'm just trying to get my thoughts around here. So you've got. So then, you started researching the complaint. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I took the script, and I noticed that the script that John Smith used against me, and he claimed that script belonged to his friend. So the prescription, the name on the prescription was redacted, the address was redacted, but the Medicare was not redacted. And I felt that John Smith forgot to redact the Medicare number because I was not meant to find out who that script belonged to. So I found out that prescription belongs to a family member of mine. And that prescription was the one that I had personally took it to the chemist on the day it was prescribed. And the chemist stamped the prescription, kept it, and said to me that they ran out of supply of ivermectin and that they expect there's more supplies to come back next week, to arrive next week. And for me, they've asked me to leave the prescription behind, and then they will call me when the supply comes in. So the prescription was at the chemist, and when I received the complaint, I went back to the chemist and asked the chemist where was my prescription. And they initially said to me that the prescription had been handed over to an APRA agent.
APRA agent?
Correct. So I couldn't really understand what the process at the time because I've never had a complaint made against me before. So what happened is that when I prescribed that ivermectin, when I wrote that particular script, it was on the 19th of August, 2021. Ivermectin was banned very soon after, so it was banned on the 10th of September, 2021. Now, when it was banned, I believe that APRA had sent letters or communication to chemists, to the pharmacists, to say that anyone who prescribed ivermectin after that date should be reported. And so I think that's what happened to me, that after that date, because my prescription remained at the chemist, that they handed that prescription over to APRA.
So what happens next? You've got 2 complaints in the one day for prescribing ivermectin when you're legally allowed to. You don't know one of the people. Mm-hmm. What happened next?
Well, I tried to make sense of the whole thing because I didn't know what was going on. Because first of all, like you said, it was legal for me to prescribe. I haven't done anything wrong. I saved a woman's life. And I mean, it's unfortunate she had side effects, but she could have died, like many patients who died in hospital from COVID. So it didn't make any sense to me that the health regulators were reporting, like I got complaints to the health regulator. So one of the things that I was shocked was that the doctor who reported me, who told his intern to report me, I wanted to talk to him to find out exactly the reason for them reporting me. Because as a doctor, you got to know what's wrong, like what did I do wrong? And that's what I wanted to know. So I called Westmead and the intern many times and to talk to the professor, and he refused to talk to me. So I started doing investigation. I looked him up online and I found out that he was the doctor who around the 1st to the 3rd of September 2021, went to the radio station. He went to the radio and television to speak about a case of an ivermectin overdose that presented to casualty, and apparently people were buying ivermectin online, and he was saying that it didn't work, and in this case there was the patient had side effects, and he encouraged people not to use ivermectin, not to purchase cure online, and that they should take the vaccine. So I started to feel that there was a connection between government and health authorities having an agenda of pushing the vaccine, and I started to feel that I am a target because of prescribing ivermectin.
Before the Americans left, were you caught up in the war itself? Did you see any of that?
A little bit of that, because, but not much. I could remember hearing the bombing, but we're not anywhere close to where the battle is. So the battle is more in the central part of Vietnam. So I was living down the south, what they call the Delta Triangle. So I could remember that. So under communism, it was very scary. But when we were about to leave from Vietnam, that was another very scary experience, because we weren't living at the seaside, but my aunt has contact with a man who owns a fishing boat. So we, after the negotiation, because the fishing, you have to pay gold to be able to get on the boat. So my aunt paid about 20 ounces or 20 leong of gold. So that's 1.25 ounce of gold, but 27 of that for 9 members of the family to be on the boat. And that's considered a cheap price. Most people pay about 20 pieces, so 20 pieces of gold. And when I say pieces, it's 1 leong. So that's more than an ounce of gold. We had to travel from where I lived to a town near the beach. And then from there, in the middle of the night, we have to walk from the beach side to get on to the boat, the fishing boat. So we do that in the middle of the night. And then we're supposed to leave the fishing boat. Well, the fishing boat's supposed to leave shore in the dead of night. But it didn't happen in our case because he ran out of gas. So we were hiding under the fishing boat. So where they kept the fish, I don't know what you call that part of the boat, but where they kept the fish, we were hiding underneath. And the boat left shore early hours of the morning. Yeah.
So you get the complaint, and now in your career, how many complaints had you had as a doctor?
None. So I practiced as a GP for 20 over years, so almost 30 years as a doctor, and I've never had a complaint made against me, and I've never been sued as well.
So when this complaint came in, were you concerned?
Yes, completely. I was concerned not so much about my situation, but I wasn't. I was concerned about my patient. I didn't know what actually happened because the report on the report that was given by the Healthcare Complaints Commission was brief and it didn't quite explain everything that I needed to know. So I proceeded to call the person that made the report against me. So there was a name of the doctor and a mobile number. So I called her up and asked her what happened to the patient and why was a complaint lodged against me.
And what was the outcome?
Running out of the confidentiality reason.
First off, at that time, wasn't ivermectin legal?
Yes, it was legal when I prescribed it, and I've never prescribed ivermectin after it was banned. I was 12 years old.
So 12?
Yes.
So what were the memories like of that? Like, how did you cope with that amount of fear? Or was it like a movie, so it didn't really hit home?
It was a mixed feelings. I knew that we were running away from communism. I guess I was scared because if we were to get caught, we'll all be going to jail. For how long, I don't know. It's sort of exciting. I was excited at the same time because I just don't know what's going to happen. Yeah.
How long were you on the boat?
I was on the boat for 13 days.
And how many people were on the boat with you?
49 people altogether.
I'm taking it this wasn't a huge boat?
No, it's not. It's I don't know how many meters, but it's not very big at all. No.
So how do 49 people live on a boat when you've got to do things like toileting, eating, drinking?
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I can't remember much of that. But on the journey, so it took us only 5 days to get to Thailand, but we couldn't get into a refugee camp because most of the camps were full. So when we tried to approach the shore, at times there were guns, people come running out of the shore with guns pointing at us. So we had to retreat because if the camp's full, they don't want any boats to come in. So we encountered about 4 or 5 of those situations. So we had to keep traveling more further.
How was the mood on the boat? Under those circumstances, can you remember any of that, or is it too long ago?
I remember one encounter where I could see that people were pointing guns at us, and that was really scary. We were really, really scared, so that the boat had to retreat back into the sea.
Was there a sense of hopelessness or despair on the boat, or was still people positive that you'd get through?
Yes, we were really worried because we were running out of food.
And water, what were you drinking? I mean...
I can't remember.
That's all right. You survived, obviously, but 50 people, because it's hot, would need a lot of water.
Yes. So I remember water wasn't so much an issue, but we ran out of food by about day 10 or so. And the engine broke down as well in between that. But fortunately, we had this big ship that were about, and so the skipper approached the boat, and they managed to repair some parts for us, and so we were good to go again. Yeah.
So you went about 3 or 4 days without food?
We didn't quite went without food, but we were running low in food. Yeah.
So how did you finally reach the shore?
We finally got to Malaysia. So this is part of Malaysia near the shore called Masing. And so we're able to purchase food from purchase supplies. Yeah.
No, but is that where you made landfall though? Was it, how did you get to it was a refugee camp your next stop?
Correct. Yes. So what happened is that there's fishing boats, like local fishing boats, on the sea, and so the skipper approached the fishermen, asking them for direction, and they wouldn't tell. They weren't allowed. The Malaysian government wouldn't allow the fishing boat to tell us where to go. So what the skipper did was he jumped onto their boat and he gave the man some money. So we gave them some gold. So we were told where to go. So there was a refugee camp that was just about to be opened. So we stayed we stayed only for a few nights near the shore, by the shore, until the camp, the Malaysian government opened a campsite, and it was on an island. It was a Virgin Island, so they built long houses for us to stay. So we were the first to stay in this place.
How long were you in the camp?
Only for 2 months. Yeah.
What was that like?
It was nice. Yeah, the beach was beautiful. It was a Virgin Island, so this is the first time someone living there. So it was beautiful. I had good memory. We had the Red Cross for the first week or two. They cooked for us, and they supply rations of food for us.
So where did you go next?
So the Australian government at the time, I believe they abolished the white Australian policy. So they started accepting refugees from Vietnam. So we chose to come to Australia.
You started researching the complaint. Is that correct? Tell us about that.
So I took the script, and I noticed that the script that John Smith used against me, and he claimed that script belonged to his friend. So the prescription, the name on the prescription was redacted, the address was redacted, but the Medicare was not redacted. And I felt that John Smith forgot to redact the Medicare number because I was not meant to find out who that script belonged to. So I found out that prescription belongs to a family member of mine. And that prescription was the one that I had personally took it to the chemist on the day it was prescribed.
Prescribing ivermectin when you're legal.
I looked him up online, and I found out that he was the doctor who around the 1st to the 3rd of September 2021 went to the radio station. He went to the radio and television to speak about a case of an ivermectin overdose that presented to casualty, and apparently people were buying ivermectin online, and he was saying that it didn't work, and in this case there was the patient had side effects, and he encouraged people not to use ivermectin, not to purchase cure online, and that they should take the vaccine. So I started to feel that there was a connection between government and health authorities having an agenda of pushing the vaccine. Westmead and the intern many times, and to talk to the professor, and he refused to talk to me. So I started doing investigation. I looked him up online, and I found out that he was a doctor. They had a. So I started to feel that there was a connection between government and health authorities having an agenda of pushing the vaccine, and I started to feel that I am a target because of prescribing ivermectin.
When you say we, it was your auntie with you?
My auntie.
So she was with you?
Yes, so my auntie, my uncle, they had a child, and I had some cousins and 2 of my siblings with me. Yeah.
Just 2 of your siblings.
Only 2.
So the rest stayed in Vietnam.
Correct. Yes.
Did they survive in Vietnam?
Yes. Yes. So they finally came to Australia about 5-6 years later.
You get to Australia. Where do you arrive, and what's that like? This is your 3rd country now, and you're 12.
I arrived in Perth, and I lived in this like a motel, a hostel for about 2-3 months, and then we moved to my auntie rented a place, so we then moved out to the community.
And could you speak English at this time?
No, not at all.
So you're about 12, 13, you can't speak English, you lost your mother, you're in that country. Had you even heard of Australia when you were in Cambodia or Vietnam?
No, definitely not.
So you didn't even know, you're in a country you'd never heard of.
Correct.
What happens next? Did you go to school, or tell us what happened from there?
I started high school in Perth, so went to
high school, but you couldn't speak English?
No. No, so I went to a special ESL class, and that goes on for I can't remember, but just a small part of the day, and then I had to go to other classes like the rest of the students. Yeah.
So was that class to teach you English?
Well, I had to go to a science class and history class. And
no, but where did you learn English? That was in the EDSL class?
Yeah, in the ESL class.
Yeah. And how quickly did you take it up?
Well, not that well. I had a lot of difficulties. Yeah. So I remember now. I think I was doing ESL for about a few months, 2-3 months, and then I got streamlined to like the rest of the students, and I just had to deal with that. Yeah.
When you were in Cambodia, did you know how to speak Vietnamese, or were they close in languages?
No, very different. So I went to primary school in Cambodia, but it's actually a Chinese school. So I did a few years of primary school, and then kindergarten in year 1. And then when I came to Vietnam, I went to a Chinese school, and learning Vietnamese as a second language. So I did my whole entire primary school in Vietnam.
Okay, so you've Cambodian, Vietnamese, now you're learning English. Let's talk about not only were you in school, but they had you working. Tell us about that.
Yes, so I was living in Perth for about 2 years, and my aunt and uncle, they couldn't find work. So they decided to move to Sydney. So when we came to Sydney, they were working in factories for a few years, and then they decided to start their own business, making garments, so making clothes for a living. And I was expected to help the family making clothes. So around the age of 14, I started learning how to sew. And the type of clothing that we make were different. So depending on what sort of which source, like which people we source the work from. So at one stage I was working for the Kelly country, and they make suits and slacks and that. So I was sewing, I was making zippers and pockets, and then we were making clothes for Katie's. There's a women's store called Katie's, so we made clothes for them, and they were paying us a few dollars for each garment.
And whilst you're doing that, you told me that you decided the only way out of here is for you to educate yourself.
Correct. I felt very unhappy because I was expected to work day and night, well, all day, 7 days a week.
Whilst doing school?
Yes.
So you're allowed to go to school and then you come back and you go to work.
Correct.
What time would you work up to from when you got back from school?
So about 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Yeah. So, and that was every day, 7 days a week.
So on Saturdays and Sundays you'd work all day?
Yes.
From when in the morning?
9 o'clock. And there's no breaks. Well, break for meals and that, yeah. Because there's
so
always
a
work.
Shop.
Essentially, yeah. So we're working from home. So when you get a complaint, you allowed about 2 weeks, and you have to explain yourself about the complaints made against you. I had to write a report to explain about the first patient that I've treated, and the second complaint. Really, I don't know what the complaint is about, because John Smith, we don't know anyone by the name of John Smith. Well, I personally don't know anyone, and I don't have a patient by the name of John Smith. And the prescription, I said it was my family member. It belongs to my brother. So my brother has a disability, and he doesn't have any friends. And I know that he doesn't have any friends by the name of John Smith. Not only that, we were in a lockdown. You're not supposed to see any friends. So, the allegations were false. So I explained to my lawyer, she was an insurance lawyer, and I told her the story concerning John Smith, and she told me that I had to submit the whole medical record of my brother in order to explain myself about the case. It didn't make any sense to me, because to me, the allegation, the whole complaint was false. All the allegations were a lie. It also said, one of the allegations in John Smith was he said that I was promoting the treatment of COVID, an alternate treatment for COVID-19 on an online forum as well. So I didn't do any of that. So that was all a lie. So I submitted these. I had to write a report and explain myself, and submitted that to the Healthcare Complaints Commission. Yeah.
But did the when you had to submit your brother's stuff, why did they want that? I mean, if you could prove it was your brother's prescription, what was the point of handing over all his records? What was that going to have?
Well, exactly. So I felt that my insurance lawyer was giving me wrong advice, because instead of saying to the authorities that allegation, that complaint was completely false, and all the allegation was a lie. But not only that, John Smith complaint, he didn't have an address. He didn't have, his phone number doesn't ring through, like it's disconnected, and his email address doesn't work. So we don't know who John Smith is, and I can't contact him. I tried to. And so we don't know who this person is. So how can I explain my respond to an allegation from someone that I don't know who it is?
And did they use any of the thing in your brother's records against you?
Yes. So my lawyer said to me that, in fact, it was my lawyer who said to me, well, you're in trouble because you treated your brother and you're not meant to treat family members.
Why? I've never heard of that.
The code of conduct for medical doctors is that it's not advisable for you to treat families because you can't be objective, and sometimes you're pressured to do things you might not want to do. So I agree with that to a certain extent, but there are times when you need to treat your family because
well, the circumstances you're in, there's something wrong with your brother. He trusts you.
And majority of doctors, like probably 100%, maybe close to 100% of doctors, at one stage of their life have treated their family members.
Can I ask? You said it's not advisable. It's not a law. It's just they frowned upon.
Correct. So
you can't be suspended for that. You just, maybe they frown upon it.
The code of conduct for health practitioner is that you don't treat family members. But they said that in situation where you can't get out of for some reason, or in situation where you can make, well, like in special circumstances, you can, but overall, you're advised not to because you can't be objective with your family members. So
you handed over the files. You're doing everything they ask you to do.
Yes.
What happened next?
I have to confront a hearing. And
the hearing is where?
So hearing was done online because we were during the period when there was lockdown. So it was done online and it was all day.
All day? And
Correct.
Did you have representation with you?
Yes, so I have that lawyer from the insurance company, but she wasn't with me. She was present on the AVL. Yeah.
And how did the hearing go?
It went terribly.
Why did it go terribly?
Because I had no guidance or no expectation. Well, let's rephrase that. I don't know what was the reason for the hearing. The advice from my insurance lawyer was that if I explain myself what exactly happened with those two complaints, that's all it's needed, and that medical council members are very reasonable, and all they wanted to do was to know the truth surrounding the circumstances of these two complaints, and that's all they wanted to do. And so I just needed to come up and answer their questions, and that was it.
And what happened at the end of this hearing?
I was suspended immediately.
So you're working like that. How did you educate yourself, or how did you plan to get out of there, to get to somewhere different?
I was very unhappy. I felt it was very wrong, and as a child, my only I thought really hard, and I thought that the only way I could get out of this situation was to study really hard and to get to go to university and to have a career. So I made a decision to study and to excel in school.
But how did you study if you were working till 9 o'clock at night?
I write notes on an exercise book, and I put it on a sewing machine. And while I'm sewing, I try to memorize the things that I wanted to learn.
So you're making pockets and zippers, and you're studying at the same time.
That's right. Yep, correct.
How did that work out for you? How did you get into medical school? From a girl who turned up at 12 who couldn't speak English, how did you get into medical school?
So I went to a local school. Well, when I got to Sydney, I did a further ESL class, and that only went for about 3 months, and then I got put into the public school. So I went to the local public school, and it was okay, but I didn't feel the teachers were interested in educating me, and I felt that the standard was not good enough, and it was going to be enough for me to do well in the HSC and get into university. So around year 11, I decided to do my own research and find a school that I could do better. So I was changing school, hopping school. So I changed school in year 9 and year 10 to year 11. I changed school about 4 times.
This is all you by yourself?
Yes, that's right.
What school did you eventually end up in, and why did you choose medicine as a direction ahead?
I got to Dulwich High School at the end of year 11, just before they had a trial exam. So I did a trial exam and I failed in every subject. Except for maths, I failed in everything. So but I knew it was the right school. So I sat next to a girl who had the neatest handwriting, and she takes the best notes. So I asked her whether I could photocopy her notes. So I did that, and during the holidays break, I studied as hard as I could. So when year 12 came, so the next year came, I caught up with everyone. So I was at the same level as most people in the year. Yeah.
How did you get, and obviously you did well enough in the HSC that you could get into medical school?
Yes, so I didn't expect that I could even get into university. But for some reason, I don't know, but I did really well. I came 3rd in the school, and the best course for the mark I got in was dentistry. So I chose dentistry. I did dentistry for 2 years, and I did well in each of those years. So the first year, I just wanted to achieve the best course that I could get into, and medicine was the hardest to get into. So I had friends in a year that transferred, and I couldn't transfer because they only accept 2 people. So in the second year, I did really well. So I came 2nd in the year. So they accept 2 people from dentistry into medicine, so I got in.
After they suspended you, how did that, what was your emotional reaction to that? Suddenly you're suspended. You got a dodgy complaint and a woman whose life you saved. You've never had a complaint in your life. You've been a great doctor, and suddenly you're suspended, and I believe you're suspended indefinitely.
Correct.
How did that feel?
I was very shocked because I didn't do anything wrong, and everything I've done was legal. And not only that, I put my patient first. As a doctor, all my life, I've done everything the best that I could for each patient that comes to see me. And I couldn't understand why. After saving the patient's life, and yet I'm being suspended.
Now let's look at the first patient. So APRA said you should have sent her to hospital, but she didn't want to go.
Correct.
And so their advice was you should have just left.
Correct.
And not treated her.
That's right.
Which would go against your Hippocratic Oath.
Well, that's it. Do I let this patient die when I believe that I have the knowledge to treat her and get her well?
So first off, she has the right to refuse to go to hospital. She has that right.
Correct.
She doesn't. Yeah.
You can reject. You can refuse to be treated, or you can refuse to go to the hospital. I can't force her to go to the hospital. I can only recommend her.
And if you knew you could help her, and yet you didn't, then that would be like cause harm. And the first thing of the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm.
Correct.
So you've just been a doctor.
Yes, I was just doing my job, and I'm doing it well, I believe.
And respecting the patient's wishes that she wanted to be treated at home.
Yes, it's not just respecting her wishes, because I think that it's a very critical moment in her condition. So there's just a small window of period. If the treatment is delayed, she's gonna die. So I don't know how long it's gonna take for her to turn up to the hospital. I don't know. I can't predict what's going to happen. All I can say is that if there's anything, as a doctor, if I feel that I know the treatment and if the treatment is going to save her life, it is my responsibility. I have the responsibility to do everything that I could to save this woman's life.
And even though APRA said you should have walked away, that's not actually a law.
No.
So you really couldn't be suspended for that because it's not a law. You haven't broken any laws.
No. It's no, not at all. You can walk away, and whatever happens.
And they were saying that you gave her too much of the steroids.
Correct.
But doctors overdose patients all the time. I mean, let's be honest, that's well known. So even, I'm not saying you did do that, but even if you did do that, surely that's not something to be suspended you indefinitely, because every single doctor in Australia would be suspended if they got suspended if they accidentally overdose someone.
Yes. So my treatment is very specific. It's a recognised protocol for treatment in conditions where the immune system respond adversely. The immune system causes havoc in the body, and you want to dampen that immune system. And that protocol is well recognised. It's used by rheumatologists, by transplant doctors, and used in SARS-CoV-1. So it's not a random protocol that I made up, that I used. It's recognised, and I use it according to the rules.
And with the other case, when you proved to them that it was a false allegation, what was their response?
Their response was that I treated my brother, I treated a family member, and they weren't interested in knowing that the complaint was, it looks like a fraudulent complaint to me, a vexatious complaint, and it should have been discarded. It shouldn't have been used against me.
But what about your lawyer? Did they put what sort of argument did they put forward? I mean, shouldn't your lawyer have got that second complaint thrown out if you could prove it was false?
Yes, so it should be the case. It should have been challenged. She should have challenged the medical council and the HCCC that complaint was completely vexatious, and I shouldn't have had to answer to that complaint at all. But that was never brought up. That was never challenged. But instead, she forced me to put my brother's medical record, and then I was being judged and being interrogated about treating my brother inappropriately.
But even though it's inappropriately, it's still not against the law.
No.
It's frowned upon, but it's not worthy of a suspension.
No.
So why did they suspend you?
I don't know. Why would you suspend a doctor who saved a life, who's never had a complaint in 30 years of her life, and who's done nothing wrong, and the prescribing of ivermectin was before the ban? So why?
If I could be anything for you, I would be your cure. I'd pour light into your wounds to soak their poison into the potions of love. And as their darkness drained, I would tear apart your cage, molding the bars that held you into your destined wings. And if from your flight you returned, I would have sewn a blanket for you, cut fresh from the curative fabric of spring.
So we're trying to ascertain why they suspended you. So before they did, you said they were asking you questions. What sort of questions were they asking you?
They wanted to know how many patients I've treated with ivermectin. They wanted to know how the patient came to know that I prescribed ivermectin, and they wanted to know the files of the patients and who they were that I've treated.
But at the moment, ivermectin was legal. It was legal for you to prescribe it.
Correct.
So why were they so determined to know?
I don't know.
Because that couldn't have got you in any more trouble if it was legal for you to prescribe, surely.
Well, the thing is, there is, when you appear before a hearing, what they call a Section 150 hearing, and there's 2 complaints made against me, the medical council doesn't have authority to go on a fishing expedition and to just simply ask and want to find out everything and how I practice medicine. The questioning should only limit it to the 2 complaints that made against me. I felt that my lawyer wasn't representing me adequately. I felt that she wasn't limit the interrogation to just those 2 complaints, and she allowed the medical council to question me on all sorts of issues. But in particular, they really wanted to know everything concerning the treatment of ivermectin of the patient I've treated.
Do you think this is because they were getting ready to ban it and they didn't want the word out there that ivermectin worked for COVID?
Yes, 100%. So a lot of patients during COVID, during lockdown, did their own research, and with the internet and with the world facing this pandemic, people are smart and they did their own research, and many people knew that ivermectin worked. So I wasn't the only doctor in Australia that prescribed ivermectin. There's at least 5 to 10% of doctors in Australia prescribing ivermectin at the time. So, and also it is legal for me to prescribe ivermectin off-label for treatment of COVID-19. There was enough evidence to show that ivermectin works, and if the patients are informed that it is an off-label use, so it's not purpose for that particular condition, but this is a use that's not approved, but it's an off-label use, and it's shown the evidence that showed that it works, and the patient agreed to that and agreed to the possible side effects, then it's fine. So, patients knew that it was highly effective, and so why is it that doctors have to limit? What I'm saying is that why are we holding back using a medication that's safe and effective, and why are we not encourage its use if it's going to cure a disease that caused the lockdown of the whole country and cause the movement of people and close down of businesses, etc. We have a treatment that cures the disease. So why are we holding back?
Is it true, the statement, that if they had an effective treatment, they wouldn't be allowed to roll out and mandate the vaccine?
Correct. So the vaccine is a product that is never been used in human in large scale like this before. It's there have been some smaller experiment that was done in the past, but it was unsuccessful. So it's a brand new product, and to provisionally approve the vaccine, for a condition that caused the pandemic, you have to not have any therapeutics. That means it's no available treatments for the condition before you can approve a product that is never been tested.
We had two products at least. We had hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and zinc, vitamin D. So there were treatments.
Yes.
And they banned those treatments. You said the vaccine hadn't been treated in a mass populace, but ivermectin has, hasn't it?
Correct. So ivermectin's been around for 37 years. It's been used in human and animals, but it's been widely used as an anti-parasitic, and there's been over 4.2 billion doses administered worldwide. And it's an essential drug on the list of essential medicine for the WHO. So it is a drug that's been used widely, used safely, and the safety profile of ivermectin, it's better than Panadol, better than aspirin. In fact, it's one of the safest drugs we've ever had.
But how much money can be made off it?
Nothing, because it's off patent, and it costs about 3 cents to make a tablet of ivermectin.
So we're trying to ascertain why they suspended you. So before they did, you said they were asking you questions. What sort of questions were they asking you?
They wanted to know how many patients are treated with ivermectin. They wanted to know how the patient came to know that I prescribe ivermectin, and they wanted to know the files of the patient. So,
is it true, the statement, that if they had
animals, but
how hard was it studying to be a doctor?
It was really hard. It might be easy for some people, but it was hard for me. Sorry.
It's okay. I mean, it's been hard from the beginning, and you've just kept going. You wouldn't quit.
No, so it was hard for me because I didn't have a lot of the basics, even in science. So, and I still had difficulty with the language. So, assignments was hard and things like that. But I managed to get
How
through.
did you survive that? How did you get through?
Just
How did you keep yourself going when it was so hard?
I just had to work a lot harder than other people.
And were you still doing the sweatshop work as well?
Yes. So I was.
So you were studying to be a doctor after a dentist,
Yeah.
but you're still working in the sweatshop 7 days a week.
Yes. So.
Still studying on your sewing machine.
Yes. Correct. All that. That's right.
Without any support, just you.
Mm-hmm. Correct. So how I cope is that I find time. So I make sure that I don't waste time. That every minute of my time is used to study, and I would force myself to stay up late in order to catch up with work.
How late?
Schoolwork. 1, 2 o'clock.
And then you'd get up at 9 and you'd sweatshop again.
Well, I go to uni, and then when I come back, I had to work for a few hours.
How long did it take you? And was it a 6-year course? How long was it from when you got in to medicine before you were qualified?
So, unfortunately, when I transferred to medicine, it went from a 5-year course to a 6-year course. So I was exempted for the first year, but so I got into second year. So I did the second year to the 6 years. So that's 5 years plus 2 years of dentistry. There's a bit of overlap in some of the subjects. So altogether 7 years.
In that time, were you ever weary? Did you ever feel like, just what am I doing? Why don't I just give up? Or
No.
was there something driving you?
No, I studied really hard.
So what kept you going though? Because so many people quit in life if things are hard. What kept you going? Why wouldn't you give in?
My mom valued education, and she worked really, really hard for us, for her children. And she wanted us to be well educated. And so I was just living up to her wish.
What was it like to qualify as a doctor?
What was it like? It's hard work.
No, but when you qualified, once you did the exams and they said you were successful, you're now a doctor, what was that moment like once you reached that goal?
It's nothing. I mean, because you work so hard to get there, and you know you're going to get there. So it wasn't so momentous as getting into the course, because getting into the course is a lot harder.
Yeah.
So you have to be in the top 1% to get in. So, but once you get in, most people would get through the course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but after graduating, I had to do further training to become a GP, because they've just introduced a requirement for GPs to go through 3 years of training and 1 year. 3 years of training. So you've got to work as an intern in hospital for the first year, and then a further 3 years of training and an exam to become a GP.
So this is about 9 years in total.
Yeah, yeah.
And why did you choose GP?
Well, I wanted to specialize, but it means that I have to study. I have to commit to quite a few years of studying and working in a hospital to achieve that. And I wanted to have a family, so yeah, GP was easier.
So you were married by now?
Yes, I got married just after I graduated. Oh, actually, a year before I graduated from medicine.
Where did you find him, or where did he find you?
We met in a university.
So a doctor as well?
No, he's a dentist. Yeah.
I want to go back. You've been suspended. After you were suspended, you found out there was a third complaint.
Correct.
Tell us about that complaint.
So the correspondence from the HCCC to my lawyer had always in the past had two file numbers, so the number for complaint number 1 and number for complaint number 2, but all of a sudden we had a file number 3 without knowing what the complaint was about. So we asked the Healthcare Complaint Commission what's in the third complaint and who's the third complainant. So up till now, we still don't know who the third complainant is. But in the meantime...
Do you know what the complaint's about?
No, there was never a written complaint given to me. So, but there was indication that the third complaint was going to come from the medical council itself. So the people that were interrogating me were going to raise a complaint against me. But they haven't indicated what the complaint was going to be. But in the meantime, they were sending letters to my lawyers expecting me to explain myself in all sorts of situations concerning the use of ivermectin and who I prescribe it to and how these people got to know that I prescribe ivermectin for COVID-19.
They were determined to find that information out, but you were determined to clear your name, so you went to an appeal. What was fighting back like?
It was terrifying because I have never been through a legal proceeding before, and it was at the same time really confusing because I get told one thing and it looks like something else was going on, and I couldn't trust my insurance lawyer. I had sort of trust with the lawyer that I paid, but I didn't have all the confidence because I felt that they weren't fighting as hard as they could for me. Mm-hmm.
And so in this new fight though, and the appeal process, how long did it take before you could actually be at another hearing for the appeal? So
you only have 28 days to put an application for the appeal, but after a few months of filing that, then you've got to wait for the hearing. So you file the paperwork, and it takes maybe another 6 months before you can have the hearing. But during that process, my barrister suggested that we ask the medical council to reconsider my suspension, that the suspension was harsh, the sentence was harsh, and whether they could reconsider lifting the suspension.
With that, you said you waited 6 months. When you finally got to the appeals, that's 6 months where you've got no income.
No.
So everything stopped.
Correct.
When you went into the appeal, how did that go?
So the appeal was for them to reconsider lifting my suspension. So I was asked what I thought of ivermectin. That I still believe that ivermectin was effective for the treatment of COVID-19.
And what did you say?
I said the truth, which is that it's highly effective for not just the treatment, but for the prevention and for the treatment and for the prevention and the treatment of COVID-19.
Did you feel that they wanted you to lie?
Yes, so I felt that there was an opportunity for me to change my mind, and I felt that had I say that I no longer believe that ivermectin works, I think that there's a possibility that they would have lifted my suspension.
So why didn't you lie?
I can't, because that's the truth, and it's a big truth that ivermectin works.
The appeal failed then?
Yes, so the hearing I went to was before the medical council. It wasn't before the tribunal, and it was for the medical council to reconsider my case, whether it was appropriate to suspend me. So that was unsuccessful because they couldn't change my mind about ivermectin.
What's the next step after that in your fight to
So
justice?
I filed an application to challenge the suspension, and that hearing was going to be before the tribunal. And at the time, it was going to be about a month and a half after that second hearing before the medical council. So, but 2 weeks before the hearing, there was a decision. There was a court decision from the Court of Appeal of Dr. Trinh. So Dr. Trinh had won a case against the medical council in the Court of Appeal, which is the highest court in the state of New South Wales. So that decision was really significant, and basically the judge, the three judges, including the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, stated that the medical council does not have authority or have power to suspend any doctors or any health practitioner, and that the only time that they have the power to do so was if there was an emergency. Now, I didn't feel that, well, I know in my heart that there's nothing I did, the way I practice, was in any way a threat that could be considered as emergency that they could suspend me. And the second thing that was important in that case was that if a doctor was suspended, the medical council and the Healthcare Complaints Commission had the duty to refer that doctor to the tribunal so that they could have their matter resolved. And so the suspension would then be limited to just the period until the doctor can get to a hearing.
When did you first hear of COVID? Were you still working in that practice when COVID came?
Yes, so I sold the business in 2010, and I continued to work in the practice for a further 3 years as part of the conditions of the sale. So we sold it to a big corporation. At the time, during COVID, I was working part-time at the medical centre.
Okay. And so you're working part-time. What were your thoughts of initially when COVID, when you were watching what everyone else was watching, the propaganda about COVID, China and everything? What was your thoughts as a doctor watching this?
For me, the alarm bell starts when Wuhan lockdown took place. That's a huge alarm bell for me because I just knew that there's something really big was happening, and I decided that I need to do some research So I made a commitment to do my own research and to find out as much as possible what was going on, whether the virus was as deadly as it appears to be, and what treatment was available to treat not just my patients but myself and my own family.
Okay, so you've dismissed another lawyer, and you said that you had evidence that the lawyer and the barrister you dismissed were lying to you. What sort of evidence did you have about the lies?
So I had evidence that the lawyer was telling me that they had contacted my expert witness, or one of my expert witnesses, and that wasn't the case. So they were suggesting that my expert witness could not be contacted, whereas that wasn't the case at all.
Why would you think they would do that?
So during my the time that I worked with them, they were trying to convince me that I should not present my case for the pro-ivermectin, that I should just leave the argument of ivermectin alone and never mention about ivermectin at all. So both my barrister and my lawyer were trying to convince me that. And then I went through a process where they were accusing me of not having any expert witness to support my case, but that wasn't the case. And I, from day one, when I engaged them, I gave them a list of doctors that wanted to testify for me, but they refused to. They wouldn't engage them.
Wow, and you have no idea why they're acting like that? Since
Well,
they're your lawyer and they're your legal team and you're paying them?
Well, the insurance company was paying them.
Oh,
so
okay.
the advice I got was that if I was going to speak about ivermectin, I was going to upset tribunal members, and that's going to work against me. And so
Upset the tribunal members that are trying to deregister you.
Yes. And I was also advised to not deny any of the allegations, but to stand neutral and to hand over all my power to the tribunal to decide whether I'm guilty or not. So my lawyers were advising me not to deny any of the charges, but to say nothing and to let the tribunal decide. So that was the advice I got, and not to fight for ivermectin.
And so silence is almost an admission of guilt.
Yes. Well, the thing is, I've done nothing wrong.
I know.
And I can't hand over, or I can't say I relinquish my position and allow the tribunal to decide whatever it wants. Because I don't know whether the tribunal was neutral or not.
But you didn't want to lie.
Well, it's not a matter of lying. So if someone accuses you of something, you have the right to say, defend yourself. You say, no, I didn't do that. I'm not guilty of that.
Yeah, but by staying silent, like the lawyer said, that would be a form of lying. Because you wouldn't be standing up for yourself.
Well, it's like giving your power. I don't see it as lying, but I see it more as giving all my power away to the tribunal, and saying, hey, do whatever you want to me.
The mercy of the court.
Yes.
The mercy of this court.
Yes.
That have been so merciful
Well,
up to this moment.
It's not a court, but anyhow.
Yeah. So then you find a new lawyer, or you went back to an old lawyer?
Yes. So I, because I haven't been through this process before, I wasn't familiar with the requirements of the process. So when I dismissed the lawyer and the barrister from my insurance company, I wanted to seek adjournment, but I was going to self-represent because I ran out of money. And a friend of mine who's sort of very familiar with law. She's a law student. She rang me up and said to me, "No, Miley, it's going to be a difficult proceeding for you to fight on your own, and you should engage a lawyer." So I went to my lawyer the very next day, and she said to me that, "Did you know that this is the last day that you could request for an adjournment?"
Oh my God! It's down to the. So what happened then? Did you manage to?
So yes.
Get an adjournment?
So on a Friday evening at 7:30, she filed an application to the tribunal requesting for an adjournment.
And was it approved?
Well, you have to go through a process. So what happened was Monday morning, you got to know that the hearing was going to be in 2 weeks' time, and the Healthcare Complaints Commission was ready for that hearing. So Monday morning, when they got news that I was filing for an adjournment, they went crazy.
Really? What? Define crazy.
They blew up and they said, "You're not going to get an adjournment, and you're not going to get a hearing before the other hearing." That's, the official hearing. So, but we had to go through a process. So when you file for an adjournment, if you do it in time, so you then got to file a submission, and then you have to get a hearing. That's a right that I have, despite what the HCCC is saying. So we didn't have a barrister, but by God's grace, someone just called and introduced us to a barrister. So we got a barrister at 2:00 on Monday, and Tuesday my lawyer worked all night. She prepared an affidavit to support my application, and the evidence I had was that we had evidence that my insurance lawyers were not acting in my best interest. And because of that evidence, the tribunal agreed to have a hearing. But the affidavit of my lawyer was so compelling that on Wednesday morning, they agreed to it straight away before the hearing even took place.
So they didn't even have the hearing, they just agreed?
Yes.
So they didn't want the evidence that you had that the lawyers were not acting in your best interest on the record? Is that the case, or what?
So my lawyer submitted an affidavit stating those facts. The actual evidence was not for the purview of the HCCC because they're confidential. So they were available for the tribunal member to view, but it wasn't available for the Healthcare Complaints Commission. Why they agreed to it is that I had a compelling case and they couldn't object to it. So as a result of that, I was able to have my matter adjourned till December last year.
We are in this crazy story of a doctor being basically having a life almost destroyed, a reputation and everything destroyed simply because you saved someone's life. And now finally been through all these lawyers and barristers, different hearings, and finally you've got an adjournment to December. How did you find the energy to pick yourself up and get back in and start fighting again from July to December, knowing your resources were down, finances were down, and it was going to be a fight?
Well, my whole life has been a fight, so I wasn't going to walk away without a good fight. And this hearing was very important to me. And to me, it's a hearing it's not just about my license, it's a hearing about the truth of ivermectin. So to me, the persecution against me is not so much I save a patient's life, but the fact that I use ivermectin in the treatment of COVID-19.
Okay, so that you're determined to prove yourself, exonerate yourself, or prove that case. So how do you go from there to the tribunal? What happened to get yourself ready for the next hearing?
Yes. So the adjournment from July to December was great because it gave me a lot of time to prepare. So I was able to have, some time of rest and then to prepare myself. And also I was working with a lawyer that I could trust, whereas before I was working with the insurance lawyer. So I had more time to prepare, but during that time, from July to December, the HCCC, they engaged a new expert witness against me. So originally they had a GP to support their evidence, and then just before this hearing they had someone else who's got more credibility. So this is an expert, this is a specialist who was affiliated with a big hospital. So he's affiliated with St. Vincent's Hospital.
So you've got a big heavy hitter now.
Yes,
you're up against.
That's right.
And what did you do to prepare?
Well, fortunately, there's a lot of people in the community a lot of doctors who knew the truth about ivermectin and who believe that I didn't do anything wrong. So I didn't have a lot of difficulty finding doctors, but I was fortunate that I also got very credible expert witnesses to support me. So I had Professor Clancy, who's the best in this country. I had Dr. Corey from the US, and he's really important because I used the FLCCC protocol for treatment of COVID-19, and also the prednisone protocol was also from the FLCCC, and Dr. Pierre Corey is a co-founder of the FLCCC. So the protocol were instituted by him and his colleagues. So it was important to be supported of my treatment on that patient. I also have GPs who were willing to support me. So I had Dr. Fitch and Dr. Pridgen. So in the Pridgen case, so that doctor. And I had also Dr. Altman, who presented a case for ivermectin. And also I had a pulmonologist and a toxicologist from the US, Dr. Lindsay, who's willing to support me.
Okay, so how did it go?
So I only had 4 days of hearing, but in the 4 days that I had, there was a lot of time wasted. So we didn't get through much. So that hearing has been adjourned to March. So initial 4 days of hearing supposed to be all over, but now they've extended to a further 3 days hearing in March. So it's March 25th to the 27th.
And what is your feelings going forward?
Well, in the 4 days that hearing that we had, the expert witness for the Healthcare Complaints Commission had admitted that I saved the woman's life.
Their witness?
Yeah. So as a result...
Why didn't that get the case thrown out?
I don't know. Good question. So as a result of that admission, I believe, there were 2 charges dropped against me. Now, what's interesting is that those 2 charges were never on the charge sheet in the first place. So they announced on the last day, at the beginning of the hearing, that 2 charges have been dropped against me. One was for improper conduct, whatever that is, and unethical conduct,
Why have you done this unethical?
Good question. I save a woman's life. If that's not important to the health regulator, what is?
What did they say about the false allegations, the false complaints? Did they look at that again in this second time round?
No. So this case had 6 complaints against me.
So you had 6 now, it had grown to 6?
Yes. So from 2 and nothing, to 6. So these 6 complaints concern specific patients, and these patients were the patients that the Healthcare Complaints Commission they confiscate the medical files of these patients from the medical centre without patients' consent and without my knowledge.
Oh, so they just combed through them and tried to find something to pin on you?
Well, if you have to have evidence to support a doctor's conduct, you need the medical files. So the medical files from the patient at Westmead, my brother, and then other patients that I have prescribed ivermectin for, which they managed to get the files of.
How did they get those files? Shouldn't they be confidential?
So if a doctor is deemed a danger to the public, there's a power that they have power to compel the medical centre to release those files to them. So because they have alleged that I was a danger to the public, they gave themselves that power to do what they did.
So it's all happening. When did the moment happen that started the next chapter of your life? And how did that come about?
It came about when I was convinced that ivermectin works and that ivermectin is a drug that cures COVID and that it was legal for me to prescribe.
So this was before they'd made it illegal?
Correct. So ivermectin wasn't banned until the 10th of September 2021.
Had you used ivermectin before?
Yes, so I from 2007 till when COVID came, I volunteered myself as like a missionary doctor. I went back to Cambodia each year to provide medical services to the poor in the rural area. And Cambodia has there's a condition called strongyloides, which is a parasitic infection of the intestine. That's endemic in Cambodia, and the treatment for that condition is ivermectin. So I was familiar with the drug, and I knew it was safe. And so when I was convinced with the research and the data and watching other doctors in other parts of the world using ivermectin successfully, I was convinced that ivermectin, not ivermectin itself, but ivermectin with other medication, antibiotics and zinc, was going to be the way to go in terms of dealing with with COVID-19.
And then you get a call from a doctor in Adelaide.
Yes.
And what was that about?
So I attend a group discussion, and I got to know a doctor who lives. She lives in South Australia, and I got a call from her one day saying that she's know of someone who's got COVID and who needs some help, and whether I was willing to treat this patient. And so I said yes.
Did you think about it before you said yes?
No, not really, because, you know, I'm a doctor and someone needed help. So it wasn't an issue for me.
And this person was a woman?
Yes, so it's a lady who presented to hospital she thought she had a urinary tract infection, and she was treated in hospital with urinary tract infection. But 2 days later, they did a PCR test, and it came back positive. And so she remained in hospital under the protocol of the hospital, which was isolation, and even she was isolated. She was forced to wear a mask, and because she had asthma, she was suffering with asthma, she found that wearing the mask was hard for her to breathe. So she discharged herself against medical advice, and she was at home for quite a few days before I got news that she needed help.
And you decided to help her?
Yes.
And then the next chapter of your life began?
Correct.
How have you changed from before you'd even met this woman or heard of this woman who needed your help to now? Good, better, or for worse?
I've changed in that I think I feel disappointed with humanity. I felt really disappointed with doctors who didn't stand up for this lie. And I felt disappointed with people whom I've helped. Yeah.
And is it true that the woman whose life you saved, who didn't want to go to hospital, so you treated her at home, is now suing you?
That's correct. So.
And her whole family is suing you?
Yes. So there's a case that's been filed before the Supreme Court concerning this patient, and she alleged that she injured as a result of my treatment, and not only her but her entire family and extended family. So her children and her husband and her parents and her brother and her sister-in-law. So there are 7 people who's filing a lawsuit against me.
But wait, can you hear our children crying? They're calling from all over this land. They're glaring at today's page. Is your Australia fair? Is your Australia fair? Sometimes